Hi friends, Shelly here. Today I'm working on a project for my sisters and myself. I'm going to make 3 different canvases. I've got some photocopies of where we grew up out in California, and I saw years ago that someone had put a picture on a canvas, and I thought that would be really neat to do as a mixed media piece for my sisters and I. So that's what I'm going to try to do today. So I'm going to start out by and I printed these out on my little laser printer here at home, my brother, and they weren't great. They're not great now, but I think they're good enough for what I'm doing. A little bit of color, not much. Obviously this was fall in California at this time of year because all the pecan tree and the I can't remember what this one is, or is this walnut? This is pecan, I think. Anyway, obviously I'm talking too much. So I took a flash drive of this photo into Staples, and they were able to do a little bit better job than my little brother home laser could do, and it's still not a fantastic great photo, but I think it's going to work great for what I'm doing. So I'm just going to go ahead and try to get this kind of centered. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Lots of stuff's going to be going on here around the edges and stuff as I go. But first I just want to get my photo attached, and I'm just using some watered down Mod Podge. That's my preferred thing I like to use for this kind of, for adhering. Getting a good coat on the back. Stand up here so I can get it. Not worried about the white edges, those are going to be covered. Okay. That's pretty good. All right. Now we'll put a coat on the top. And then I like to, I'm going to put on some gloves today. And make sure that I've got most of my bubbles out, if not all. Okay. And then I'm going to use a couple of baby wipes and just tap all over, just kiss the canvas. And take some of that off. Really, I just want my texture to be all the same. No brush strokes. And this also helps it dry a little bit quicker. Okay, so there's the first one. All right, my canvases are dry, and now it's time to start adding some interest around the edges. And I've got 3 different papers I'm going to use. This paper I got off of thegraphicsfairy.com years ago. And I'm just going to go through and tear out. I'm not trying to be precise. A lot of this is going to be covered up. I like to hold with these 2 fingers and tear with my other hand. With my 2 fingers on my other hand. Probably everybody's got their favorite ways of doing it. I like to, this gives me a little bit more control when I want it. I'm not being too fussy about it today. There, I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to try to keep this together while I get the other two ready to go. A lot of times when I do this kind of collaging, I will change my mind and add and mix it up different than what I thought I was going to do as I go. So I always like to put some extra bits of my paper torn, ready to go off to the side, just in case I wind up with holes I want to fill or I don't like an area. I've got some papers over here at the ready. Just in case. Again, using my watered down Mod Podge. And I'm going to be mindful of the things I want on the bottom and the top, even though a lot of this, like I said, is going to be covered up. I'm going to try not to get too much into my actual picture. I like to work on wax paper so that when I'm done I can carry it over to another part of my studio and let it dry. Some Mod Podge down, then smushing to get all the wrinkles out. But if I do have wrinkles, it's not the end of the world. I'm not too worried about it. Gives me a little more texture. And I don't want brush strokes, so I always tap over what I do so I can get rid of those brush strokes. This is a great place to grow up. Farming country in California, in Central California. We had horses for a time and 4-H hogs when I was in high school, and a few had a steer, chickens, of course dogs and cats. Facing the other direction, we had a beautiful view of the Sierras. If it was a clear day. All right, my canvases are dry, so now I'm going to cut off those edges. Now I'm ready to add my modeling paste, or my first layer of modeling paste. And I'm just going to go around the edges and can scrape a little on here and there. I definitely want to cover up all those places where you can see my canvas underneath or between the collaged items. And I want an uneven bit all the way around the picture. And the edges. I like to use the Alex Fast Dry caulk, silicone or acrylic caulking. Been using it for years. It's good for 50 years on the outside of your house, so I think it's gonna last pretty good on my art. It's certainly a lot cheaper than modeling paste that you would buy at the craft store or the art supply. And just works fantastic. I put it on thick, I put it on thin. It takes longer to dry if you put it on thick. You could certainly do it. If you put it on thick, you need to let it dry. I think it does better if you do it overnight. Certainly. But it says on the packaging that, or on the front of the caulk, that you can paint within 20 minutes if it's a thin coat. And I have. But most of the time I'm putting on a thicker amount. So I think this first rough layer that I'm doing modeling paste is not completely dry yet, but it's getting there. So I'm just going to go over and take down some of those pointy tall edges. All right, my canvas is dry and now it's time to start painting. I went over it with my fingers again to make sure that all the big stuff's off, any pointy places are off of it. And then I took a large chip brush and went over it just to make sure I don't have any dust or particles left over. And I think I'm gonna start with my green. And I have a few different colors I'm going to put out here. I'm going to put out a little bit of marsh green, a little English ivy, and a little palm leaf green. And I want to mix that with a little bit of the lime. Got a couple of chip brushes here and some water. And start off with my kind of limey color here. And I to kind of go down here. And I'm going to come over here. Whoop. Got to put my gloves on. I don't like to, when I'm got my fake nails on, I don't like to paint without gloves on. I can make my little manicure last as long as possible. Nice coat on there to begin with. And I want to get all of those white spots covered. All the nooks and crannies. All right, now it's time to start on our blue. Gonna put out a little bit of cobalt and get some bright blue. A little bit of Caribbean. And a tiny little bit of navy. And probably a little bit of white. Okay. Very bright. This is not the way I normally would not lean towards these colors. But we're going to tone it all down. It's not going to be this bright. When it's all said and done. Green splotches there. I don't mind it. I want it to overlap a little bit. That's just fine with me. Now before I clean up, I want to take my baby wipes to just mix them up in my paint here, and then I hang them to dry. Then I can use them for something else. They make a nice little stiff fabric. So now I'm going to take some white onto my fingers, and I'm going to go all over and push that color back a little bit. Trying to stay on top and really highlight that texture. Okay. Now I'm going to take my stencils for my flowers. And let's see, what do I want to do here? This guy went up here, and this guy went down here. This guy I want like up in here. And then I've got my address. And I've got some stencils, some SVG files that you can access and pay. There's a couple of, I offer them for a couple of bucks on my PayHip page. You can find all kinds of stencils there that you can pay a few bucks and cut them out, or you can print them and hand cut them out, whatever works for you. Or use stencils you already have. If you already have, a lot of people already have stencils that are numbers and letters, and it's just super easy to, well, it's harder to do them one at a time. It's easier to take them and put them in the configuration you want. If you do them one at a time, then you've got problems with the modeling paste putting on top of each other, so that's why I've got mine configured here. I don't want to put on, I want to put on a good coat, but I don't want it to be too thick. And what I've learned, if you don't lift it slowly, then you can get really weird raised edges. And that happens a lot, and sometimes I don't care about that. But this time I do care, and I don't want them to be too raised. What I like to do when well, I wish I hadn't torn 3 pieces off there. When I'm doing modeling paste through stencils, I like to have some paper towels sitting here ready, and then I just, in between, I scrape off as much as I can. Then I kind of put them between the two and get most of it off, and then I let it dry and put it away like that. So that's how I do it. There might be a better way. I do not know, but this is what I do. Works for me. All right. I'm overhanging my flowers a little bit onto the picture. I want it all to go together. That helps bring it all together. Now I've got a toothpick handy, and if I had smeared it underneath too much, or if I wasn't happy with, if by, you know, some of this coming out at the bottom. And I'm not too worried about it in this application. I'm rarely worried about being perfect, but I could clean that up with my toothpick if I wanted to. But I'm not going to do that this time, because I think that's a pretty good image. I'm not, like I said, not worried about being perfect. All right, now this guy, I think we're gonna do the numbers first, since I'm right-handed and I don't want to be working across here. And I want my numbers, I think the numbers are going to start down here, but then they're going to come up and be into the picture, leading down to the barn. Probably should have put some modeling paste out on my palette. Fact, that's what I'm going to do, so I don't dry the rest of this out. I like to put my modeling paste in these old candle jars. Keeps them nice and easy to access whenever I need to. Okay. A couple of high spots there. Oop. Just put my finger right in it. What a goober. And then I just took off the part that was supposed to be there. See if I can fix that a little bit. Now what I'll do here, this is going to dry a lot faster than my thick stuff I had on here to begin with, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it dry for a little bit, and then I'll come back and smooth out a couple of these spots when my paste gets a little bit more dry. Now here, well, where are my, oh, I moved them. Here's my toothpicks. They're really hors d'oeuvre toothpicks. They're kind of long and they have a bigger circle on one end, pointier on the other. And I like to use these for my cleanup. So you can get in here and really get as detailed as you want. Again, I'm not going crazy with it, but because I want it kind of rough looking. But you can go and do as much, make it as pretty and perfect as you want it to be. Okay, little high spots there, but I'll come back and take care of that in a little bit. And don't leave your stencils in between the paper towels for very long. Do your business and then put it aside, because it will, within just a few minutes, it will become stuck, and then you will rip the paper towel, and you can still clean it. It'll come off with water, but it's just a whole nother step I don't want to go through. So, all right, now this one, I think I want kind of in the middle. We've got that one and that one to the side. I think we're gonna put that guy right there. Been fun working on this with the, the memories, thinking about the different things that, the memories of growing up here. Most of them very sweet. Few rough. Few wish I could, I could forget, but most are very good. A few that come with youth and stupidity, but most of them are most of my memories are very sweet. All right. Uh-oh. Now I can't get it to let go. Let's flip it around here on this side. Oh. Come back here. All right. Okay. All right, I think that looks good. So now we'll set this aside and do the other two. Now I'm going to take my yellow, which is a little darker already. I've just taken a plain yellow and added some red to it, but I'm going to add a little bit more red to it. A nice orangey yellow golden color. I like to use a popsicle stick to mix my paints. Wipe it off, dry it, use it again. All right, and then I'm going to get a baby wipe and give a little bit of water. Too much. Well, as sometimes happens with me, I did not like the yellow tone of it like I thought I was going to. And so I took some baby wipes and got them even more wet, and then went through and just scrubbed on my canvases. Of course, forgot to record it. Sorry about that. But anyway, and I'm always amazed at how durable, I don't think you can you know, I think you can be too rough with it, but you know, I scrubbed it with really, really wet and took most of that yellow off. You can still see some of it, and I'm okay with that. I don't hate a little bit of the yellow, and I like that the green and the blue is way toned down. So now what I'm going to do is go back in with some more white. And if I can get my white to come out. No, Katie, I didn't come down here to play with you. No, Smokey. This is Smokey, everybody. I don't know if you could see him there, but he is wanting some attention. So now what I'm going to do is go back in some of those places that are just a little bit more yellow. And I'm just going to touch those up with a little bit more bright white. Okay. I don't want you up here, Miss Kitty. All right, I love that much better. We're gonna call that done and go work on the other two now.